Today on Homeworthy, we head to the beautiful state of North Carolina, often celebrated as the heart of American interior design. Join us as we tour 5 stunning homes that showcase both classic Southern charm and eclectic style. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Cassidy. Welcome to my home in Charlotte. Let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Cassidy Montgomery, and I run the Instagram account, The Home on the Web. We are in Charlotte, North Carolina, and this is my 1939 colonial home that I share with my family, my husband and my 3 children, and our giant dog. And we've been here for 6 years. I have always loved this street, and I grew up about 2 streets over. I would walk this street with my mom after college, after graduating, and when I was living at home. And I would always say, I would love to live on this street one day. So my husband and I moved into a home a few streets over after we were married and lived there for a while. And then one day when I was about 7 months pregnant, we found out that this house was going to go on the market. And that day we ran over here. My husband's in construction, he's a contractor, so we kind of had an in. And we rushed over here, met with the owner, and basically said, like, we will take it right now, as is. We have to be here because the street is just that desirable. It was a fast move, but we had to get in quickly, and we moved in on a Saturday, and I had a baby on Monday. So it was chaotic, but that's just the way we set the groundwork for the rest of our lives here. It's just basically perfect for us. So we're extremely happy we're here. Welcome to my entry, which is the first room you see when you walk into our home. As you can see, it is white. It's Sherwin-Williams alabaster white. And I recently papered the ceiling with a Lee Joffa Taplow wallpaper to give it a little color because it was all white. But it's between 2 very colorful rooms, so I didn't want to fight with the walls. So we papered it with a paper that has every color of the house in it, and I think it's really brought everything together. Recently just rehung this visual comfort light that I love. This rug is from Vintage Rugs by the Bay. I found them on Instagram. It's a vintage Ushak, and it's so beautiful, and I love it because now it works perfectly with this wallpaper and everything else in this room. This is a panel, a Gracie wallpaper panel, and it is a strike off. So when you order Gracie, they give you the option to have a strike off so you can see their custom work. And they send you this, and this was for a client years ago when I worked at a firm, and I had it rolled up under my desk for maybe 4 years. And then one day I was like, I need to do something with this. So I took it out, got it framed, and now it's been hanging in our entry for probably 6 years, and I love it so much. I mean, it's a little off because it's not the actual thing, but it's beautiful, and it's the closest to Gracie I'll ever get in this house. These are sconces I found on Facebook Marketplace, and I love them because I love an iron flower, and they have little iron daisies, and they're so beautiful. This is a demi-lume that we have, and it just, you know, we keep all of our keys on here, and it usually is a lot messier, but for you, I cleaned it up. So this is the living room, And it is probably my favorite room in the house, as I've mentioned. It's calming. It's filled with really beautiful pieces to me, things that I love, that I've collected. It's actually probably 90% of it has all lived in another house prior to living in ours. I love a Facebook Marketplace find. I love a consignment find, an antique store find, and basically this is where everything goes to live. It's just a hodgepodge of pieces that I love, that I found, and all full of color and make me so happy. For example, you know, these green chairs were probably the first design thing that I ever did for myself. Maybe 12 years ago, they were in my in-laws' home, and I recovered them in this chartreuse because it's my favorite color and it has been for years. And they have moved with us a few times, and they're always like a showstopper. People always love those chairs, and I love them because they bring the room together. This piece here was a Facebook Marketplace find. She told me that it was her best piece when she lived in New York City, and she paid lots of money to bring it down here to Charlotte, and then she got here and then it didn't work. So she sold it to me, and I love it because it's just I love the glass design, and I love that it's just a traditional piece that kind of sits in the corner and holds stuff that I can't show. These nesting tables are from an antique store here in Charlotte, and I love the kind of leopardy pattern on there, the tortoise, I guess you could say. And then it's just kind of covered with birds. I love ceramic birds, and I love a hydrangea. I go to my mom's house, who doesn't live very far away, and I cut off all her limelights and I bring them here because we don't have any. But they fill our house, and I love them because they're just the best color. Chartreuse as well. I found these side tables on Facebook Marketplace as well, and they work perfectly with this sofa because the arms were so high, and I think they're so beautiful. And I love the delicate little tray here, and they worked like they were made to sit next to this couch. I just love that. Here's another coral shade and another blue and white accent because it's just kind of what I love. These brass wheat sconces were an antique find, and I've moved them around the house, but I think I really love them over here over the sofa, flanking these vintage monkeys in these really pretty hand-painted frames that are also an antique find. And then obviously flanked again by another antique find, these plates, because who doesn't love a plate on a wall? And it's just, I love the colors, and it just, you know, it's like a little round piece of art. It's just perfect to add to any spot in your home. This sofa was and is a favorite. It's my husband's napping sofa. This is our first piece of furniture that we bought together when we were newly married, and it basically was the only piece of furniture in our home. And now it lives here, and it still serves a great purpose. This green visual comfort lamp is a Christopher Spitzmiller that I also found on Facebook Marketplace and had it shipped from California, and it made it here in one piece, and I love it, obviously, because of the color. This panel, also a consignment find. I mean, if you look at it, it's hand painted. It's just, the colors work so perfectly for this room. It was almost like someone did it specifically for this room, and I just could not resist it. I love it so much. It's beautiful, and it looks great on that wall, and that's all I can ask of it. And I love a panel, obviously, and the birds, because it's a continuing theme here. This cocktail table, it's fabulous for this room because anything else would just make it feel a table of this size, if it was wood, would just make it feel really clunky and in the way. And the fact that it's acrylic and you can see through it, it just almost feels like it's floating. The books are floating. It makes the room feel larger than it actually is. And I love that you can just like cover it with pieces of color, and it just looks really cool, like they're just floating above your rug. The walls in here are Sherwin-Williams Hinting Blue, and the trim is Sherwin-Williams Languid Blue, less 25%. I actually painted this room on a whim. I was hosting a trunk show on maybe a Thursday, and that Monday I was like, I have to paint this room. It's does not look good. I'm about to have all these people here. We need to change it. And being married to a contractor, you can make these decisions, and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But we made it happen, and I had a crew come in here, and I picked these colors. I just walked into the store, and I just found two blues I liked together, and we made it happen. And the next day, we had the trunk show, and everyone commented how much they loved it. And I was like, I do too, and I'm just getting used to it. But yes, I love it. It makes everyone happy. It's been a very highly requested color combo on my Instagram. People always ask me and send me pictures of their rooms with the same color combo, and I love that. It makes me so happy. These chairs, an antique find. I love purple. It's my new favorite color, as you can see. I love it. I'm wearing it. It's here. I'm scattering it around my house now. I used to be a big just blue-green girl, but now purple is kind of I'm inviting it in. I love these Asian jars. Another consignment find, well, more of an antique consignment find. This came from my grandmother. It's just a brass boat. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's just something that I like to keep here. We keep our remotes in here. But these birds are my favorite. I walked into a store and I just could not resist them. I didn't care what it took. I was going to bring them home, and I sure did. And I love them. And I take very good care of making sure none of my children ever touch them because I'm terrified that they'll break them. But here's some more blue and white because you got to throw that in. This lamp is actually from Target. You might have seen it. A lot of people had it. But it's, I think it was maybe $70. And I love throwing it in here, a real high-low kind of, difference. And I think it looks great, and I love it. Actually, my curtains, these draperies are also. The consignment find just makes everything, it's like you put effort into your shopping. And I think that's really what I love about it, because it's like the thrill of the find is a true thing. And that is why I continue to do it and can't stop, really. These mirrors were given to us, and I love them so much because they fit perfectly in that spot. We couldn't ask for anything else. And I was so upset. I was so afraid they would not fit, and we got them in there, and lo and behold, they were perfect. So that was meant to be, and they'll probably never move because I love them so much. The demi-lunes, another Facebook find, as are these sconces. I can't help it. I have to. That's just one of those things that it's part of me is to keep checking Facebook Marketplace every day, and I end up with sconces that I never knew I really needed, but I did. This little brown sofa actually has a cute story. I worked for a design firm, and we had a client who was moving out of a very old home that had a gigantic room with so much furniture in it, but not just clumped together. It was all, it was just a giant conversational room. And this sofa was a part of one of the sets in the room. And it was covered in some super old fabric. And she was going to give it to, I guess, Goodwill or Habitat or something. And I said, oh my gosh, it's such a tiny little sofa. I love it so much. I'd love to put it in my daughter's nursery. So she let me take it home. And I had it recovered in a peach plaid. And it went in my first daughter's nursery. And it was just the sweetest little sofa. And I love that it had a story. It had been sitting in this cocktail room of this fabulous house for, 70 years. And now it was in my daughter's nursery. And I thought that was so sweet. And then once she was too large or too big to have a sofa in her room, we took it out and I had it recovered in this Lee Joffa Asian cloud fabric, and I love it so much. I think it's so cool. It's like a grounding for the whole room, this brown sofa, but the petite size makes it just perfect for someone just to pop on and sit on it for a while, and it's very comfortable. Even after all these years, it's still extremely comfortable. So the rug in this room is a custom rug or carpet that we had cut to fit the room, and it is Stanton Mirage. And just to show how revolving this house is, I've already made plans to take this rug out of this room and put it in my primary bedroom. And we're going to cut it down and bring it up there, and then I get to go on the rug hunt again for this room, which I'm excited about. But the house is ever revolving. nothing is safe where it is. There's something is always going to be moving. So this rug is no exception. But it's a great rug. It just needs to be in a less trafficked room. When we designed this room, my husband was like, I need a TV. We only have one other TV in our living area, and the kids have to watch TV, and I don't want to watch TV when whatever they're watching. So we had to put a TV in here. And so the exception was that we did the frame TV, and I get to, put beautiful art on here. This is an Alexis Walters, and I think if I have to have a TV, and it should have an Alexis Walters piece on it, because it looks like art, and it's fabulous. So, and now we have a TV, and so everyone's happy. And these pieces, the pink piece below is by Kelsey Reynolds, and the piece above, the more landscape, is Anna Vaughn, and I love them together. I think they look really pretty, and the light hits them lovely. I would have to say this room is my favorite. To be honest, I do not get to spend a lot of time in here. This is our formal living room, as formal as this house gets. It's basically all the things that I don't want to put in any other room to end up in anyone else's hands, my children. But it's very serene, and I just think it's really pretty, and it gets great light, and I can sit in here and feel calm. Maybe it's because no one else is in here. I don't know. But it's just lovely, and I love this room, and I think my husband does too. This is his preferred napping room, but I think it is a favorite for the adults. The kids really don't have any interest in it, so that's probably why. But I love the color, and I think that really lends itself to being peaceful in here. Now I'm going to take you into our sunroom. Okay, so this is our sunroom, also our breakfast room, also a play area for our kids. When we first moved into this house, this was the dingiest screen porch you've ever seen. It was moldy and mildewed, and the screen on it was filthy, and it had a huge awning off the window, so it was so dark. We knew that we needed to turn it into actual space that we could use. So when we got around to it, we turned it into a breakfast room, and it has just become the happiest little room in our house. We have this white tulip table here that is extremely durable and takes a beating, but always manages to look good after I clean it up. My kids can basically stand on top of it and it won't fall over. I found it actually in a consignment store here in Charlotte, of course, and it's perfect, and I couldn't ask for anything better. And I love it with these wishbone chairs. I think it's fabulous, and it works really well. I had a bench seat made here to store more of the kids' stuff underneath, and then also, as a seat in this big window, and I put this perennial pinstripe on here, and we had this faux Roman shade made, just because obviously I'm never going to block this light. I love it too much. I love some natural light, and this is a great topper for the big old window. This piece I had commissioned by an artist here in Charlotte named Holly Graham, and I love it. It incorporates all the colors of the room, and it's really cool, the layered pieces that she does. It's really well done. We chose to put a blue tile on the floor to make it kid-friendly and fun, and easy to clean up when muddy boots come in the house, because as you can see, there are always muddy boots here. This is also the Barbie corner. It usually is about double the size of this, but for this, I toned it down a little bit, not to overwhelm anybody. Kids only play for so long with these things, so I don't mind seeing them out, because I know one day they won't be here and I'll miss it. So yeah, Barbie lives here. She resides, but she's fine as long as she keeps her house neat and we don't have to step on any tiny shoes. Here is my Bordello Pinheiro plate wall, which I love. I love a cabbage. I have been collecting them for a while. I go on eBay and I'll find special colors, and I have a stack in a cabinet of Bordello Pinheiro one-offs that I just one day hope to find more of, and then I'll make even bigger wall, but I love that. And this piece is really cool. The artist escapes me, but all the little flowers are 3D and ceramic, and they sit on top of that acrylic piece and looks really pretty. And then I let all my kids, we don't have an official playroom in this house, unfortunately. So we kind of have to make each room kind of playable, I guess. So this is more their art area, you know, next to Barbie. And under the window seats, a lot of art pieces too. So they come in here. It's usually a lot messier, but you know, we cleaned it up. But this is a great area for them to color. They like to go outside and color, and it's just a happy room. This chandelier, I love. I basically incorporate rattan into every room somewhere, and this room is no exception. This chandelier is Regina Andrews, and I love it so much. I think it works perfectly in this space, and it, you know, it's got the rattan arms and the shades, and I think it's lovely. But also with the rattan console here, I got a little carried away. My overall style is very transitional. I love a classic line. I love a classic pattern. I love like structure and detail, but I do like a few modern pieces thrown in. I love color and texture, and that is just how I keep adding onto the house. And when you love that stuff, you can keep adding because it just makes it better. And so the more the merrier, basically. But color is probably my favorite thing. And I just play off of that to make myself happy. And I think it makes everyone else happy because white is nice, but you know, color always makes people happy. So now let me take you into the kitchen. Okay, so this is our kitchen, and this is a true labor of love. When we first walked into this home, it was scary. It was basically, everyone had labeled it a teardown, and mostly probably because of the kitchen, it was horrendous. It was lots of brown. There was tile on the counters, which was an odd choice. This whole area right here was a wall, and it was walled all the way across here, so you couldn't see anything into this room. And it was dark and just bizarre. And we bought it nevertheless. So we knew what we were getting into. So in 2020, we decided, hey, it's the pandemic, let's remodel our kitchen. So we did. And also I was pregnant. So, you know, we do a lot of things when I'm about to have a baby. But we took it down to the studs, this whole back room, got rid of all the walls and added in, you know, an open plan so that we could be in the kitchen and still be in the family room at the same time, which was important so that we all felt together. We tried to utilize the walls to create pantry space because we did not have a butler's pantry at the time. So these big cabinets are actually pantry. This is a fridge, all hidden, they all kind of, you know, look similar, so you get deceived, but that's a freezer, fridge, and then we had, you know, didn't want to waste any storage, so these up here are also deep storage for things that you don't reach for all the time. This was a range. Our range was on this side, and we flipped it to that side, and there was a wall, and we knew we wanted to open it up so that we could see into the room. So we made it this big peninsula, as it's not an island because it's connected to a wall. And we used this marble that we had leathered. And I love the leather because it creates a fabulous texture, and it's very forgiving, at least in our house. And we waterfalled it down here, which I think made it look, you know, modern and chic in the same time. These lanterns I found online, and they were black, but my husband painted them a shade darker than the cabinets, and I loved the blue on blue, a monochromatic moment, if you will. I think that looked really cool. We kept it kind of like a galley. It was a galley before with a T, so we kept it still that galley, and it's worked for us. I mean, it's not that giant open floor plan that you fantasize about, but it's really worked, and we really love it. And, you know, We didn't do upper cabinets because I wanted it to feel open. And we did do one cabinet here, which is kind of like a furniture piece almost. And we put this brass grating on it, and it's just glassware, and I think it's really pretty, and I love that little piece that sits here on the counter. So everything was marble. We did marble all up on the wall, and we even did a marble sink, which I don't highly recommend, especially in a kitchen. We've had to tweak that a few times, but it was really beautiful, so I can see why we had to do it. The blue of the cabinets is Benjamin Moore Van Cortlandt blue, less 25% again. I always go down in percentage just to keep it from being too pronounced. I don't know why. I just feel like it kind of simmers it down a little bit. These sconces are Visual Comfort, a great classic sconce. Does a great work light when you're, prepping over here. This range, we went back and forth over a lot of ranges, but we ended up with this range from Blue Star. And it's really cool because you can customize your entire range down to, there are, 7 different whites to choose from. And we chose this white and, the antique brass handles over any, you can do whatever you want. You can add anything. It's a really cool feature to that company. Our house is not huge, so we have to utilize every space as well at the best we can. This room back here is our laundry room, and also passing through into outside with another ongoing project, if you can see that. But this door is a pocket door with a unique feature. It opens at the top. And this is because this room is also where we keep our dog when we are not at home, because she's large and will end up on top of the coffee table if I let her. So she stays in here, and this allows her to not feel like we locked her in a closet. So this is her little, doggy door basically. And yes, she has jumped through it. So it doesn't work perfectly, but it's really cool. And we enjoy it because it just keeps her at bay, and it's a fun feature. And a pocket door is a must, for space saving. So Home on the Web is my Instagram account that I started about 5 years ago, basically out of boredom, and started it. And I just started putting multiple options for one thing, like coffee tables. Here are 16 coffee tables, and here's where to find them. And then I actually forgot about the account. It was high Instagram days. So this was maybe 2018, late 2018, and totally forgot about the account until one day somebody reminded me that I had it. And I was like, oh yeah, I should do that again. So I jumped back on and started doing it, and then it kind of took off, and people really like seeing the options of pieces in your home, which is hence the name, like Home on the Web. Like how to build your home from the internet. And people loved it. But then I started getting kind of bored just doing options and showing things from online. And where I actually prefer to find my pieces offline, I'm a big, rather than Facebook Marketplace, but that's another story. But I kind of diverted it into more of a lifestyle account where I talk about, my house, but also my kids and clothes and everyday life. And, when I partner with companies, I share that. And when I collaborate, that's something else that I get to share. And it's typically home related or family related, but always like something that makes me happy and is like fulfilling to me. So it's just something I love doing. It's been a great creative outlet. So it's just kind of grown from that little account that I used to have. Now we'll head down to the family room, which this house was interesting because this room is sunken. So you have to go down 2 steps to get to the room, which was an odd choice a long time ago, but I guess they had to do it for some reason. But it works. It's fun. It just gives it a little retro feel. I love this room. It's basically where we live 90% of the time. My kids play in here. We watch TV in here all together. It's typically covered in trucks and toys, but today it's not, which is good. So you can actually see the floor. The trucks are still here, as you can see, but like I said, this is a short-term thing. So I let the trucks live because I know that one day they won't be there and I'll miss them. These sofas, I decided to maximize the space so that they could still play on the floor by facing them across from each other and, you know, keeping the floor open. And I just threw this ottoman in here. You know, it kind of moves around. It changes its location all the time, but it's just, we don't have a coffee table. You know, one day when they don't want the floor space anymore, but it's just something that it's more comfortable for them, and we don't miss the coffee table in here. I'll just put it that way. These shelves were something that we saved from the renovation. We could have knocked them out, but I always wanted built-ins, and then I got them, and now it's kind of like, what do you put on them? So I put all of their little books, not little books, I put their books on here, and then I think the color is really cool on the bottom. You know, it's like a rainbow base. And then I just have filled it with lots of pieces that I love and, you know, framed pictures of our family and pieces of art. You know, small art is great for shelving because it fits on it. And it also brings your shelves to life and it looks just really beautiful. Funny story, when we moved in here, there was a locked cabinet and we somehow opened the cabinet and it was filled with the strangest things. But two of the things were these 2 bowling trophies. So I had to keep them. So they're on our shelves, a memoriam to whoever lived here prior to us that was a expert bowler. These pillows are from a female-run company here in Charlotte, Piper Collection. And they do a fabulous job of providing like really beautiful designer fabrics and awesome fillers. And they're based here in Charlotte. Another visual comfort lamp. I love that lamp. It is one of my favorite pieces of lighting in our home. These curtains are Pepper Home. And they were one of the first things I wanted to put in here when we renovated because I love that pattern so much. The trucks are, you know, a must. Everyone needs a room full of trucks, and we have them on either side of our fireplace. We use this fireplace all the time. It's just, we went through 2 cords of wood, and if you understand anything about wood, that's a lot of wood. So we went through 2 cords of wood last winter because we just love a roaring fire, and it's a wood burning fire, so that makes it fun. This rug is a great rug for this room. It's a Stanton indoor-outdoor rug, but it has a really soft feel to it, and the kids have never complained about it like hurting their knees or, you know, not being too rough when they're sitting on it. And it takes a stain really well. The walls in here, all the white in our house is Sherwin-Williams alabaster. And it's a great, you know, it's not a stark white. It's not cold. It has a little bit of warmth to it. And I think you can really tell in this room because the light hits it really nicely. And it doesn't feel like you're in like a super stark room. Because I always have to add rattan to a room, I have these side tables that I really love because they fit this space so well and they're really narrow and they don't knock over. And my kids actually move them around all the time and use them when they're playing, and it's really funny, but they're very durable. I've had them there for a while and I think they're just like the perfect, they don't get in the way when you're walking through. This piece is a print and it's called Parrots by Paul Duffy, I want to say. And I love it. It's one of those pieces that you look at and it just makes you happy. And it kind of like has every color of the room inside of it. When we first moved into the house, one of the first things we did was I had a newborn baby and a toddler. So we carpeted this entire space in a white patterned carpet, which was a ridiculous decision on my part, but I was also very pregnant and indecisive and had no idea what I was doing at that time. And it was great for about 2 months when they were like rolling all over it and nobody had skin knees and it was fabulous until they started spilling things on it and it just started looking awful. And these 2 chairs at the time were the only furniture we had in this room. And they loved it because they're swivel and they would spin on them and they just kind of were like two little islands out in this room. It was really funny, but I've always loved these chairs, and it's great because they're so low that when you walk in, you're not looking at the back of a chair. You just look straight over it, and you never feel like they're in the way. So, you know, with size of furniture, when you're thinking about that, think about the fact that you can see over this chair rather than to the back of the chair. I think that's just a really good feature. Now I'll take you into the center room, or we call it the green room. This room is unique because the ceilings are extremely low. It's below the stair landing. And I think originally when this house was first built, this was the end of the home. And this was the den or living room, or maybe not the living room, the den probably, for the house. And as you can see, it's really tiny. And this is an extremely small powder bathroom right here. And that was probably, I mean, it's basically 4x4. It's pretty small in there. But these ceilings are not great for all of my tall friends. But we painted it all green. This is Relentless Olive from Sherwin-Williams. And we painted the ceiling just to create kind of like a cave. And I think it really made it feel that way. And I think it's kind of cool because it's super bright on both sides of the room. So the light comes into it rather than it really needing light. But it had this strange little built-in, you know, off to the side, halfway sticking out of the wall. And I really wanted to knock it off and just close it in. But my husband wanted to keep it. And so he kept it. And now it's just become kind of a place where this is my little nook, my little desk, if you will, my little office. And it's a place where I can just put all my things that I have collected, because you know, as you get older, you kind of lose that because people go into your things so often. So I get to put up little tiny pieces just that I've collected over the years, and it's just like a special, happy little shelving area for me. And this is a mirror that I found with more metal flowers, metal daffodils, and I couldn't resist it. I think it's so cool, so I had to put that up here. This shade came from Hong Kong, and I thought it was so beautiful, and I had to keep it. I had to get it in here. And then I had to completely rework that lamp to get it to fit because it had such a strange little harp inside of it. But now it's beautiful, and it will be like that forever because I will never change that out. And then these are all pictures of my grandparents and my family that I love to keep, and one day I will frame, but for now they sit there and I can still look at them. This Burla desk actually came from Wayfair, which is, I mean, this is one of those decisions that I made just because I knew what I wanted, and instead of searching, because this would have taken forever to search for my, you know, Facebook Marketplace or consignment, I knew what I wanted and I wanted it quickly. So Wayfair was way to go. And it actually turned out really well, and I'm happy with it. And I think it's really beautiful. This piece was my favorite piece of art growing up in my parents' house. And I always wanted it in my own home. And so it's on loan to me. But I love it so much. And I think it looks really cool paired on this green wall. And it's a woman driving away with a dog hanging out the back. And it says Fantasy Escape Series, and I always thought that was really cool. I don't know the artist, but it's old, it's cool, and I get to look at it every day here on my wall. So for this room, it's kind of like the throughway, but I didn't want to make it just a walkway, a wide walkway. So I put this round table, skirted table here. So people still had to walk around it, but it just gave it a little more interest. And I hung this visual comfort lantern over it just to create like a little space of, you know, a point of interest for the room, because without that, I think it would be kind of just like an empty space that you had to just walk through, and felt like a strange little room. Our basement's off this room. So it's a utilitarian room, but it's just tiny but mighty, I guess, is what you could say. All right, so now let's go into the dining room. So this is the dining room, and this is my second favorite room in the home. It's covered in this Lee Joffa GP and J Baker Nymphis. And this is a wallpaper that I loved for so many years, and I kept a sample in my desk just hoping for one day to be able to use it. And then I got the chance in this dining room and I could not pass it up. And so I knew this would be the green dining room. So we used the green colorway in the Nymphis. And then for the ceiling, we did a lacquer, a Fine Paints of Europe lacquer in a color that's within the paper. And it came out so beautiful and I love it so much. You know, you can, at some points in the day, you can basically see your reflection in the ceiling, which is awesome. I think that's a really cool feature. These chairs were a Facebook Marketplace find. I love a spider back, and they were coral. And at first I wanted to change them because I thought it was a little too much for the room. But then I realized that coral is basically my accent color for the whole house. So it worked out. And I don't think I'll ever change this coral velvet from the chairs. I might paint the chairs one day, but you know, everything's a project. So everything's revolving and evolving, and we'll get to the finish point someday. But until then, I think they look great as is. This dining table was in an antique store that I walked into. I saw it and I called my husband. I said, I found the table. I found the table we need and it's perfect. And it was. And we got it, and it literally fits the room perfectly. And I love it so much. It has a great base that my kids sit on or have, you know, play underneath, which is fun. I think it's really cute when I look down and find like random Legos and tiny little like cows and random animals under there. These draperies were another Facebook Marketplace find. They were 11 feet tall when I got them, and our house is unfortunately does not have 11-foot ceilings. So I had to trim them down, but they look beautiful and they work perfectly with the wallpaper. And I think they were a really special find, and I love them so much. This chandelier I found on Cherish, and it came from Palm Beach. And I just love, you know, anything with a story. It's always like, you wonder where that was before, and now it's here. Living a different story, but you know, still the same. And I think it's really beautiful. My friend Mary with Marigold Florals here in Charlotte created this piece for me. I think it's really pretty, and it brings all the purples that I love so much into the room. I set the table. I'm not fancy when it comes to setting the table. I don't bring out the china or make anything feel uncomfortable. I want to keep it pretty, but you know, approachable. And I think that this is something, this makes me, if I sat down at this table right now, I would feel, you know, I would find it beautiful, but also comfortable, and, you know, like I wasn't going to break anything. And these white plates here with the scalloped edges are also handmade in San Miguel and from Half Past Home. I think they're my favorite plates. They're very heavy, and they're just, you know, a really pretty piece that I'll have forever. This portrait is of my grandmother. It was painted by her uncle. This is also on loan from my parents. And I love this painting so much. I am just mesmerized by it when it sits in their dining room when it's not here. And I just find it to be mesmerizing. And I love the color. And I think she looks really beautiful. And I love that so much. I love that her uncle painted her. Over here is a little bar area. These shell lights I found at a consignment store, and I walked in, I saw them, and I knew I had to have them. True testament to saying, buy what you love. If you see it and you love it, you're meant to have it. Like, you gotta do it. And I saw those, I was like, I don't know where they're going, but I'm gonna make them work. And I had no idea they'd end up here, but they did, and I love them here. I think they're really unique and special, and you know, they just add a nice textured feel to the room. This was also Facebook Marketplace, as was the mirror. I can't fight it, it's just my nature. The rug, however, was from Malargo, and that she is in Texas and does really beautiful rugs. And I thought this rug worked perfectly with our wallpaper, and it does, and I love it so much. Now let's go upstairs to the primary bedroom. All right, and this is our primary bedroom. It is probably the most recent project in our house as of yesterday. There were 6 people in here working, and I'm really looking at it for the first time myself today. This room, we did not have a very functioning bedroom. And, you know, they say your bedroom should be your sanctuary. Ours was just our holding place. We didn't have enough storage. We had things everywhere. I didn't care what the bed looked like. But then we realized we have to get this under control. And so this wall was just a blank wall with a window, and we had a dresser, and we were trying to figure out how to store everything. So we decided to make built-ins to be our storage. So each of these sections here are hanging space. And then we have all this shelving, and these are drawers, and these are doors with more cabinet space. And in a few weeks, they'll have hardware, and that will make them even more beautiful. And then in a couple more weeks, these will have antique mirror in each of these door panels, which will be really pretty. But like I said, they just got finished up. They're a new feature to the house, but I'm super excited to have them and utilize this space. And I think this is if you have a room that doesn't have enough storage and you can have built-ins made, and I would highly recommend it, because it really didn't eat into the room, and I don't even feel like the room got smaller. It just, now we have more space to put our stuff, and it's kind of hidden and pretty. And we used, the color is Sea Salt by Sherwin-Williams, and I'm in love with it. I think it's so serene and really beautiful. And you know what? It pairs really well with coral, and I think that's fun. And that's, you know, another way to sneak coral into every situation. As you can see on these windows, there are no window treatments because we don't have them yet. We're still waiting, which makes waking up really easy. Going to sleep, not so great, but soon they will have window treatments. You'll have to come back for that. So this wall currently has a TV kind of floating in space here because we are having a piece made for our shoes. That will be a special cabinet furniture piece that will also be holding, 30 plus shoes, which I can't wait for. Until then, I have this dresser that also goes in my son's room here. I am a big advocate for a fan. I have to have a fan in a bedroom. I have to have the wind in my face while I'm sleeping. So this is a visual comfort fan, super minimal. It's, it's not the chandelier we all, want in our bedrooms, but it keeps me happy. And it disappears into the ceiling. I think that's a great feature. I have my greens and my purples and my blues, again, in this room. And then I brought in the coral, and these really cool little lamps are from Pookie Lighting. And I fell in love with this shade and knew they had to be in this room. And funny enough, they're Lee Joffa, such as many things are in this house. I think they're just really beautiful, and I love them in here. And these are actually cordless lamps, which is really cool. On our bed, this is a custom Pepper Home lumbar, which is a great, monogram piece, and has one of their signature fabrics on here. These were a consignment find, and I think they're really beautiful, and I love them. And I saw them in a store for a couple weeks, and I kept revisiting them, and I was like, I have to take them. They have to work somewhere. They're huge, and they wouldn't fit on a sofa in my house, but they fit on my bed, and I love them on my bed. I mix a lot of different bedding, Serena and Lily, Bowl and Branch. My duvet is from Pippin House, which is owned by a Charlotte-based sister duo. Duvet system that they've created to make changing your duvet a lot easier than it used to be. So I would say my favorite design tips would be, or the ones that I would feel like I need to pass on, buy what you love. Don't buy to fit into a style or to be perfectly matching with something. I think it creates character and it makes it look collected when you bring something in that doesn't exactly match with the room. Or, you know, you walk into a store and you see something, you're like, I love that, but where would I put that? Just bring it home, because you're gonna find a spot. Like, or you could change the whole room for it. But I mean, I think it's basically like, if you wanna make yourself happy and you're living in this space, then put things in it that make you happy. And also, I mean, this might be just because I love it so much, but use color, even if it's one color. Bring in color, add color, and it's just, I don't know, it just creates so much depth to a room, especially, you know, you can even layer with color, like coffee table books. They're filled with color. Like, even if your whole room is white, just add color from your accessories or, you know, pillows, even if you had to go all white. So next we're gonna go into the primary bathroom. So this is our primary bathroom. This bathroom, when we first moved in, was pretty ugly and was not desirable, and we knew we needed to change it. So in the past year, we actually gutted it, and it used to have a pair of sinks right here on this wall with a big mirror, and this from about here over was the closet space for the bedroom. So it was basically these, but just white cabinets, and that's where you hung your clothes, and it wasn't efficient, and so we knew we needed to change it, but unfortunately it was the only closet space in the bedroom. So we decided to come in and, you know, do his and her sinks across from each other. This is a cabinet for all of our towels and medicines and whatnot in here. And then we have the upper cabinets, again, utilizing all the space because it's very necessary in a house with not a lot of storage. And then these are two hanging closets. And I used a paper here from House of Harris, another sister duo, and I love it. I love pulling the colors for the rest of the room from it. I think it's just fabulous. And I knew they were panels, and I knew I wanted to put them somewhere. And I was like, I could put them on these doors and they'll, you know, get the point across. And I think they've just been such an excellent backdrop to this room. And I love these panels. This little bench I found on Facebook Marketplace, and then I recovered the seat, and this is an Elliston House fabric, and I thought that was really cool and played well with this wallpaper. The floor is a light blue hexagon penny tile, and I think that's really cool, and we played it all the way through into the shower, and it was makes the room feel larger, obviously. We decided to do a natural oak with a reeded doors and drawers, and I think that was really pretty and very different from all the painted wood we have in our house. So when we remodeled this bathroom, we took a shower that used to be in this space over here, and the toilet, which was across from it, with a little door in front of this window. And we knew that we didn't want to put the toilet in a room by itself because it would close off the light here from this window, and we would lose more square footage from this bathroom. So we decided that we would put the toilet in the shower. The shower is really large and extends to the window, but then also the toilet is here. And it's a robot toilet, which, you know, is extremely exciting to all the children in our house. But the toilet is in with the shower. And apparently that's a very European thing to do. But we had to utilize this space as well as we could. And actually, and here the questions are always, no one uses the toilet and takes a shower at the same time. The water does not get to the toilet. The floor sloped. So there's no splashing over here. It stays very dry. And it's just, we kind of use this bathroom as a bathroom with a toilet and a shower that, you know, it's a one-person bathroom basically. So if you're taking a shower or using the bathroom, you're in here by yourself. But you know, we got our space out of it. We didn't have to put any walls up, and I actually we had a partition made, and when they were coming in to install it, I backed out. I was like, I can't do it. I like the openness. So we kept it. And I know it's really odd, but it works. And you know, if you too have a space that you need to possibly add a toilet to your shower, it works. Home means to me a place where your family resides, where all your loved ones live under the same roof, where all the things that you love are housed, and it's a place where everybody can feel safe and comfortable. I think comfort is key. You want to be comfortable in your own home. And home is where the heart is, right? Isn't that what everybody says? So yeah, this is everything I love is in this one place. My family and all my stuff that I love, because I do love stuff. So I would have to say it's just where everybody's happy and comfortable and loved. Home means to me a place where my family and I live together, where we are comfortable, because comfort is key. We want everyone to be comfortable and happy, where all of the pieces that I've collected over the years live and I get to admire alongside my family. It's just a place where you can feel happy and comfortable and at peace, hopefully, you know, when people are at school, typically. Home is also where you can show your true colors and design however you see fitting. And it's your basically blank canvas to do whatever you want. Well, Homeworthy, it's been great having you, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Windsor, and this is Lady. Come on in our home.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. My name is Windsor, and welcome to my home in North Carolina. I actually grew up right here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, but after college, I moved to Boston. I had my first job in Boston, then lived in LA for a few years, and during COVID, moved, kind of begrudgingly actually, moved back to North Carolina. I would cry to my husband and say I'd rather be dead in California than alive in North Carolina, but I now have eaten those words because I have come to appreciate it so much more than I did growing up here as a kid. I really love the East Coast, and North Carolina is still the furniture capital of the world. So for me, business-wise, it's amazing to be here and be so close to the furniture industry. But yeah, so I actually now live about 10 minutes from where I grew up, and where we are has changed so much in the last few years, and it feels like an entirely new space. But I always tell people North Carolina is kind of like the perfect hybrid of a place to live. You get all four seasons, you're close to New York, you're close to Florida, you're close to the mountains, you're close to the beach. So we get a little taste of everything here, and I really love it. This is our kind of formal living room and entryway all combined, or foyer all combined in one. So one of the reasons that I love this house when I purchased it, even though this house does not have super high ceilings, this room felt very grand to me. And again, why I loved it is because this was original to the build of the house. So when you kind of walk through the flow, I really just fell in love with how all of these rooms open up to each other. And all of these archways are actually original. They say the devil catches you in the corners, so the more arches you can have, the better. But this room only has one major window in here. So we did the walls white to kind of brighten it up in here, but I wanted it to still feel very earthy, moody, and warm. So we did some kind of dramatic pops of color. So we have this really oversized green velvet sectional that I actually had custom made in LA. It's a super comfortable couch, even though we rarely sit on it. So I have this very dramatic brass coffee table in here. And I love the ambered glass. To me, that's such a fun element to bring into any design space. And you'll notice throughout my entire home, I am obsessed with coffee table books. I collect them. You name a coffee table book, I probably have at least one copy, if not two. But this Elvis coffee table book is actually one of my prized possessions. So this is a very limited edition. I think they only made 1,000 copies, maybe 10,000 copies. But it's so oversized, and I feel like it's really just such an iconic piece to have in anyone's house. So this is a very coveted special piece to me that I'll always keep prevalent in any home that we're in. All right, I think Lady is tired of being on camera, so I'm gonna put you down. One thing you'll also kind of notice throughout this house, I also have a love and appreciation for kind of, I don't know if you want to call it like Africana safari vibes, but I really love like animalistic influence. These were actually gifted to me by a design firm that I used to work with. But as soon as I saw these, I fell in love with them. The movement, the color scheme, everything about them to me is so dramatic and just interesting. And I feel like they really pop well on this coffee table. I'm all about a high and low moment. And if you follow me on social media, you'll recognize this rug. So this was one of my first extremely viral videos. I found this rug on Amazon, and this is an 11 by 15, which normally for rugs this size, you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars or having to order them custom. But I came across this Amazon seller that was selling these for like $500 for an 11 by 15. It is just a jute rug, but for the scale of this room, I really needed something large. And kind of one of my, ways that I was able to increase my design business was through promoting things on social media. And this was one of my first videos that went really viral. So I found this rug on here and was telling my followers about how this is a great way to have a really elevated and high-end look for a very low price point. And I talk to people a lot about, I call it the island effect, when your rug is too small and it feels like all your furniture is stuck on a little island. Having a nice big area rug like this just makes the space feel open, and it just gives room for every piece of furniture to breathe and stand on its own. And especially for a big, long room like this, it makes a huge difference in just what your eye is going to and how the overall aesthetic looks. So one thing you'll notice, we have a lot of neutrals in here, but I like to kind of bring visual interest into the neutrals with texture. And then you'll also notice I'm a huge, huge fan of sculptural elements. So there's only so many pieces of art that you can put in a house, like canvas art. So I love sculptures. I think every piece of sculpture, like a face, a body, anything figurative just has so much personality. This little cocktail table here, I just love the texture and the dimension that it brings. So this is from Mr. Brown London, which is one of my favorite brands to work with. It's a trade-only brand out of High Point, North Carolina. But I love how it makes these pieces pop. And even though the chair is white, this cocktail table is white, I feel like all these pieces come to life with the texture. And then we have this really oversized sculptural piece here that I actually added a light behind. It did not come with a light, but I just wrapped some LED lights behind it to kind of give it a nice glow so it almost feels like an oversized sconce. Some of our friends call this the tortilla sculpture because I guess it looks like a tortilla, but I absolutely love it. And again, it's like, this is a really big room. How many pieces of art are we gonna put on every wall? So this breaks it up, it adds dimension, and it just adds a cool pop of interest into the space. And again, talking about the highs and lows. So this console, I'm a huge fan of Burlwood. This console is actually from Target. It's a Studio McGee console, but I've layered it in with a Branch Home light fixture, again, that's sculptural. And this lamp is a very high-end fixture made of solid marble with some really beautiful custom drapes, and of course another collector's coffee table book, because I love my coffee table books. So this is actually the original mantle that came with the house. But before we had like the big glass doors on the front of the fireplace, this mantle was painted white. We kept the original stone, but I wanted to do something, again, like sculptural and contemporary with the actual fireplace itself. So when I saw these like cement spheres online, I thought this is one of the perfect ways to kind of spice up this room. And I love, with all of these sharp lines we have in here, to have the soft curves with these cement spheres. I think it's really beautiful, and it just adds a little layer of personality and something that's different in a home of this age. This is probably the most special piece in this entire house. So this piece of art is, I believe it's a 55 by 55. It's very large scale. And it's actually painted on wood. It's extremely heavy, and it's all done in oils. But just to set the scene for you, when I very first moved to LA, I was on a shoestring budget, and I got taken to this store by an old colleague of mine where she called it the dead people store, but it was really like a consignment store, and it was all of these like celebrity homes, or just like, I guess, influential people's homes they would donate, and all of the money of the pieces sold goes to a children's charity. But it was like a hoarder's antique shop, like floor to ceiling stacked. And I walked in, and from across the room, I saw this piece. And I'm a Scorpio. I love scary movies, anything scary. And the second I saw this face, I was like, I have to own this. Like, I absolutely love this piece. They had no information about who painted it, where it came from, like absolutely anything. But I fell in love with it. At the time, this cost more than my monthly rent. So I went home, called my parents. I was like, I can't afford this. What do I do? And my parents were like, you're on your own now. You got to figure it out. So I decided I would rather eat ramen noodles for a month and not have a lot of extra spending money and splurge on this piece. And the colleague I went with at the time, I remember she told me, she said, this will be one of those pieces that you can say, when I first moved to Beverly Hills, I bought this piece of art, and she was like, you'll have this for the rest of your life. One of the biggest reasons that I love it is that everyone that looks at this piece sees a different story, and it evokes something different out of every person. And on top of that, the color scheme is my just love of these muted greens and browns, and it works so well with the rest of our house. So this is one of my collector's items. Like, if the house was on fire, I'm grabbing this and running out the door. This console is not only beautiful, again, I love adding in texture when you have neutrals. It's also super functional. It adds a ton of storage. And then these are, again, we're looking at a high-low. I have this vintage, it's vintage-esque, it's new, but it's from HomeGoods. This bread bowl is like $30, paired with these really beautiful lamps by Bunny Williams. Bunny Williams to me is, just a tastemaker when it comes to lighting design. But one thing that I tell clients all the time is that the scale of your lamps is really so important. And I go in people's houses all the time, and they have these tiny little lamps on their buffets or their consoles or their entry tables. And I wanted something that was really large scale, had some visual interest, but wasn't going to take away from this art piece. So when I saw these, I really loved them. To me, they're the perfect amount of kind of like elegance and sophistication. They also lean a little bit more traditional to be paired with this super modern cabinet here. But these, again, are just another great way to incorporate kind of like a high-low investment piece. To me, lamps are so versatile. These would be great anywhere in the house, no matter where you use them. And black shades are actually a little unpopular in the design world, I feel like. But I love them, especially in here with all of these white walls. To me, it adds a great amount of contrast, and I like it moody, I like it dark, so I don't need tons of light pouring out from these fixtures. This home was built in 1947. And I actually just told my husband the other day, we were looking at some of the original listing photos, and I was like, I'm glad we were young when we bought this, because we had a lot of energy to take on the amount of projects that we did. But I like to say it was abandoned. It was left vacant for 6 years prior to us purchasing it. The previous owners, I guess, retired out of state. So everything was overgrown, outdated, needed love and attention, but it was prime COVID. We had nothing to do. It was the middle of winter. We were moving from LA, and we thought, you know what? Let's take on this huge project, and we'll do a lot of this ourselves. which was a little naive in hindsight. So when we bought this home, it was not painted. The exterior was not painted. Every room was painted a different color. The kitchen was probably one of the worst kitchens I've ever been in my life. And we lived with that kitchen for about 4 years until we just recently renovated it. But what I loved about this home is that it was built in the 40s, and most homes in this neighborhood from that time period are very chopped up. So they have lots of small rooms, lots of formal living rooms, dining rooms, chopped up bedrooms, closets, things like that. This house just naturally has a really great flow. We did not disrupt any walls. We still have not moved any walls or openings. Everything is original. And this is kind of like a Tudor-esque cottage style house, which is one of my favorite styles of home. I'm a very like cozy, warm type of personality. So to me, you know, the layout and the aesthetic of this house just matches really well with my personality. We got in here and, you know, painted everything, replaced the light fixtures, and just got the bare bones kind of covered. And then slowly throughout the last few years, we've taken on kind of room by room, project by project to help make it feel more like our own. And one of the, in my personal design style, and what I urge a lot of clients to do is have a mix of like modern elements from current design trends, but also old world and traditional elements. And I feel like, especially in an older house, it's really important to pay homage. Like our kitchen, for example, I would not have wanted to put a super modern kitchen in this house because it's an old home. Like in 20 years, this house is gonna be almost 100 years old. So I would not have wanted to put a super modern kitchen in this house because it just doesn't fit with the bones. So the thought process behind all of the design choices in here have been, we want the structural elements and the architectural elements to feel original and traditional to this era, but some of the furniture and art and accessories can feel, you know, modern and contemporary. And, you know, we're a young gay couple living in North Carolina, so we want it to feel like it's different, it's edgy, it's cool, and it reflects our personal style. But I don't want to take away from the beautiful design elements that were originally created for this home. We don't really use this room unless it's the formal living room, unless it's for parties or something, but day to day, this little sunroom is where we're spending all of our hangout time after work, relaxing and watching TV. So I always tell people TVs are like the quickest way to ruin the aesthetic of a room. I do love a good frame TV. I think that's a great compromise, but in general, I don't like to have a room framed around a TV. I think the room should be framed around the architectural elements. So a fireplace, your view, or kind of like a conversation pit. So when I saw this little unique TV, so this is by Samsung, and it's called the Seraph. It's meant to look like mid-century furniture. So it has these legs and it only has one cord, so you can literally just pick it up, move it wherever you want. But I fell in love with this because it's the perfect piece to kind of stay out of the way, but still be functional. It's a great quality TV. But this is where we're doing 99% of our hanging out and relaxing. And in this room, it's great because if you're laying in here on a Saturday, you kind of feel like you're outside with all of these huge windows, so you don't necessarily feel guilty about being inside all day. But I think this room is a really good representation of kind of my overall style and that mix of traditional form with kind of like modern and contemporary elements. So we have a pretty modern sofa here. This trunk, funny story, was actually the first office I ever worked in. This was our coffee table in my very first office in Boston. And when the company closed, the owner gave me this coffee table, and I actually packed this, duct taped this shut, shipped it from Boston to California, filled with like my coffee table books, blankets, pillows, all this stuff, like literally just slapped a FedEx label on it, and then shipped it back from California to North Carolina. So God knows where it was before this, but it has literally been across the country and back. So I always like to incorporate this into the house. But again, so I have kind of a mix in here. We have like a more contemporary rug. I have a modern side table here. And then paired with, this is an actual vintage Herman Miller mid-century modern Eames chair, and this is from the late 1950s. I purchased this from a really close family friend. This was their grandfather's. He bought it new in the late 50s. We've never had it refinished or anything. I love all the wear and tear and character it has on it, and it's actually just the most comfortable chair in the world. So I know some people say the Eames chair is overdone or, it's too predictable, but I love it. It's so comfortable to watch TV. And again, I love that this is an older piece mixed in with some of these more contemporary and modern elements. This sheep is a really good, another story, if I'm not boring you guys with my stories, but this is a good retrospect into my admiration for the furniture and design industry. So there was a furniture company called Mitchell Gold Bob Williams for a really long time. They were out of Hickory, North Carolina. They unfortunately closed in the last couple years just due to some crazy circumstances, but their logo was this sheep. That was what they were known for. And in every display, they had these sheep. So when I was in LA, Mitchell Gold had a showroom in Beverly Hills, and I would go, look at all these pieces, and I always just loved the sheep. Fast forward to living in North Carolina, I was at one of the closing sales when the company was going out of business, and they had their full display for sale. And I was with my mom, and we were asking them hey, everything, they were selling everything. So we were like, hey, are you guys gonna sell these displays of the sheep? And they were like, yeah, we can. So they sold me this, and I just love it. To me, it's just an unpredictable piece. Again, I love sculptural elements into a space. Behind this is a light fixture, kind of a funky little floor lamp by Regina Andrew. She's one of my go-to lighting sources when it comes to clients, but this was just a really cool take to me on adding in floor lighting into a space. They call this the happy lamp because it looks like a little smile with two eyes, I guess. But it's just, again, a fun, unexpected sculptural element in this space that I feel like just kind of helps make the room more interesting, and it adds character and shape. Another one of my favorite, I guess this is, now that I'm saying this out loud, you'll notice lighting is just like one of my go-tos. But another favorite light piece I have in here is this table lamp. So this is a great example, again, of incorporating sculptural elements. So this is Kelly Wursler for visual comfort. Kelly is like God to me. I love everything she does. But I saw this lamp. I thought it was so beautifully done. And this to me is a great combination of the earthy tone. It's warm, it's cozy, but it has this crazy modern sculptural element to it. And again, it's very large scale. We're always looking for those really big lamps. I'm a nature person, so for me, it's so refreshing to be able to come in here and just kind of I don't feel like we do this enough as adults, to just kind of daydream, not look at your phone, just look out the window, look at the nature. Here in North Carolina, we have all these beautiful season changes. Look at the seasons and just kind of appreciate life for 10 minutes in the morning. So that's what I really like this room for. And when we bought this house, it was crazy. They had, this whole room was painted like Masters green, like the Masters golf course or the Masters golf tournament green. And they had huge blinds covering all the windows. The bushes were very overgrown, but we came in here and they had a sofa and two recliners in here, and we were kind of this is not, whatever, this is a little bonus room, maybe we'll make this a sitting room or something. And when we closed on the house and we came in here, we started taking the blinds down, and we were just like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing space. These windows, the light, everything, which originally to this house, this was probably a screened in porch, and one of the previous owners glassed it in. But it's just such a special little room. And in here, because it's sunken, the ceiling height is a little higher. So it feels very grand and open between the ceiling height and the windows. So we spend, I would say, 80% of our free time hanging out in here. Growing up here in North Carolina, which is the furniture capital of the world, I was exposed to furniture and interiors kind of all the time unknowingly. My mom worked for an interior design firm our whole life, and she was also a very hands-on DIY project type of mom. I would come downstairs. I remember actually one morning I came downstairs and she literally had a sledgehammer, was going through our drywall to put a new window into our kitchen because she wanted more light in there. So that's the level of DIY that she was, like always taking on projects. I think our house was constantly under construction my whole life. But again, like begrudgingly, she drugged me to all these fabric stores my whole life and furniture stores, and I never really appreciated how much I was exposed to until I got older. But I actually started off in marketing. So I worked for a long time in digital marketing, social media, and all that kind of stuff. And then during COVID, I really wanted a new creative outlet. And I always had just had a love for interiors. We were living in California at the time, in LA. And I worked really hard on our apartment there to make it beautiful and feel like home. And so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna start showcasing this apartment during COVID because I had so much extra time to do things. So I started showcasing the apartment more and more on Instagram. As time went on, things started picking up more and more traction. I started taking on small jobs here and there, taking on jobs for family and friends. Everything just kind of started snowballing to where I slowly just started getting 100% into interior design. And then that kind of snowballed into also selling, antiques and home decor pieces online. I source these pieces from all over the world. So like this fall, I'm actually going to Paris on a buying trip to sell pieces on my website. But it just kind of happened really naturally, which I think was probably the best thing for me because I was never a student and I never did well in school. And I think that had I studied design in school, I would have resented the schoolwork aspect of design and maybe not found my passion for it as I have now. So it really just kind of came to be over the course of 1 to 2 years. It just fell into place. And now being here in North Carolina, I can go to High Point Market every season. I bring clients to market. And then throughout the year, I have access to be able to go there, every week to find really cool and unique pieces for my clients. And to me, even as a kid, whether it was decorating my room or, styling the Christmas tree, your home is the most important place in your life. It's your retreat and it's the space where you can recharge and express yourself. And to me as a creative person, that's one of the most important things, in your day-to-day life. So creating beautiful interiors with people is just like magic to me. It's one of my favorite things to do. And finding that synergy with clients is just like a dream come true for that to be my day job. All right, so I want to take you guys into the dining room. So outside of the sunroom, whenever we're hosting company, I love to have a dinner party and I love to decorate for a dinner party. So we utilize this dining room a lot. You will actually notice I have not had it fixed and I've not changed it out. This dining table top is kind of beat to smithereens from all of the different decorations and candles and plates and everything that's come across it. But I leave it this way because to me, this is reminiscent of all the wonderful times that we've had in here. But again, this dining room, the layout and everything is original to the house. So we have not moved walls or anything. We did add this really beautiful grass cloth wallpaper here. Grass cloth is one of my go-tos when you're looking to add a little bit of warmth and texture without, having, I feel like wallpaper you can very easily get sick of, and in a room this big, I wanted something that we were not going to get sick of. So this to me was a perfect neutral. It adds just enough interest, but without being too crazy. So again, I think you'll notice in this room, it's a good mix of traditional and kind of modern. So we have this very oversized pendant. This is another Kelly Wearstler piece. And again, why I love this is because it's so sculptural and dramatic, and it really helps balance out a lot of the other more traditional elements in the room. So having the wallpaper from the chair railing up, we have pretty formal drapery panels in here. A lot of it is very formal, so I wanted it to have a little bit of funk when it came to the furniture pieces and accessories, and even down to the rug. So this rug is from Jaipur Living. They're one of my favorite rug manufacturers, and what I love about this rug is that this is a very classic and kind of old world traditional design, but it's been done in a very modern and dramatic colorway. I always say you need a little punch of black in every room, so this adds a really dramatic base into this room. These chairs were actually purchased when I lived in California. You'll probably notice this throughout the tour of this home. I'm an emotional buyer, so I see things, I don't know where it's gonna go yet, but I have an emotional connection to it and I fall in love with them. These were one of those pieces. I found these at a really cool shop in LA, and I was like, I had a tiny apartment at the time. I was like, I have nowhere to put these. I don't know what to do with them, but I love them. They're solid teak, and I just love how sculptural they are. And to me, this does lead itself to a little more of those kind of like Africana vibes that I'm drawn to. But I saw these, and when we were moving in, I said, let's just put them at the dining table for now. You know, we don't have any other chairs. And we put them up against this table, and I was like, I kind of love this. And very surprisingly, these are extremely comfortable, believe it or not, even though they look extremely rigid. But I didn't want the rest of the chairs to overwhelm these. So the rest of the pairing is more of kind of like a mid-century upholstered, lower profile dining chair. Again, these are super comfortable. And I love that we're able to fit so many people at this dining table because, again, we like to host and have friends over. And this table is great because it does have an option to put a leaf in it so we can get 2 extra chairs. Being here in North Carolina with Furniture Market and the Antique Market, we do have access to a lot of pieces. But anytime I travel, I'm always looking for art and accessories. Whether that's California, Europe, anywhere I go, I'm always trying to look for those pieces. There's a brand online, Kathy Kuo, and she says your home should look like a well-traveled home. And I remember reading that and thinking that is such a good explanation of how you want your home to feel because it helps tell a story. So I do plan specific trips to go shopping, but I always tell people when it comes to art and accessories, those pieces a lot of times need to find you. Like just how I've mentioned with several of the art pieces in here or sculptures, they've kind of just unexpectedly found me and I fell in love with them. That's how I think art should be because it's very personal. So whether it's, you know, a candlestick, a sculpture, a vase, or a piece of art, I think those are the pieces that when you're out somewhere, whether it's traveling or at an antique market, if something jumps out at you, even if you don't have a place for it, just grab it because that means there's something there that's tying into a personal element for you. And that's how I've really curated this home. Like I said, half of these pieces I didn't have a plan for. I just fell in love with them. And then I start to base a plan around them. And that's also why I like old houses. Like I like having the challenge of, you know, this is the puzzle piece or this is the board game that you're set up with. So how do you figure this out rather than having everything new and customized for exactly what you want? I like working around the history a little bit. So the Linwood pieces, they're part of a brand called South and English, the cabinet in our living room is actually from South and English, but it's a couple, the husbands, one is from England, one is from Georgia. So South is South from Georgia, and he is the artist. So these abstract pieces he is very famous for, and you see them a lot in like Charleston, definitely all over North Carolina, but I absolutely love his work. So when I saw both of these, I knew they had to come back to our house. Out of that, and the art in here is also kind of, I think, kind of an unexpected and special little twist. So these are both by a local artist. He goes by the name of Linwood out of High Point, but these pieces, even though they are so dramatically different, they're both done by the same artist, and we had them framed in the same material. And I don't have a lot of blue in this house, but this is kind of my one little pop of blue that I have in here. Again, both of these pieces really spoke to me, and even though I don't think you would look at them and say they should go together, I just loved them paired in this dining room. And when you walk in from the front door, this piece is one of the first pieces that your eye sees. And I think it's really cool. It kind of just makes the room come together for me. Over on the other side of the dining table, I have a little bit more of, I would say, kind of like an old world flair over here. So this piece I actually found at an antique store. I took it to an appraiser to just get some more information out of it. It's extremely, extremely old, I think from the late 1700s. The glass and frame is both original, and the back is solid wood, and the wood is very deteriorated, and you can tell the age of it. But I've paired it here with a more modern console and then this antique solid brass lamp that I think is just a really special kind of like, cool way to pay homage to this old world aesthetic. I have one of my sculptures here from my website, and then kind of changing from antique to like Grecian Roman vibes to, again, a little bit more of that funky kind of like Africana vibe. So this is kind of like a good encapsulation, I feel like, of my style, is just mixing in all these different elements in a more neutral color palette and making them all kind of have a moment for themselves, but somehow come together to create something special and beautiful as one. I'm a shopper, so I think that's a big part of being a good designer, is being a good shopper or having a love and patience for shopping. I could shop for furniture, antiques, and accessories all day long. I never get tired of it. So I want to take you guys now into the extremely newly renovated kitchen. And when I say new, I mean that we had contractors in here last night finishing up a few last minute details. But the before of this kitchen, so we did not change the footprint in here, but it was taken down to the stud. So everything before was original. So cabinets from the 40s, we had 2 layers of linoleum floors in here. Formica countertops, it was terrible. So that's why we wanted to wait a little bit, live in the space, see how we wanted to use it, and really figure out what it was we wanted out of a kitchen, because this is such a huge investment. Every detail needed to be perfect. So we just finished this up and I could not be happier with this kitchen. To me, it makes this house finally feel like a home. In here, I think, again, you'll notice that mix of modern and traditional elements together. So we went for a very classic style shaker cabinet. I did all unlacquered brass hardware. You'll notice on the fridge, these are already starting to patina and change, which I love. I cannot wait for these to look old and worn. And I wanted the beauty of marble in here. So the countertops here, as well as the full backsplash, is all a honed Brazilian marble. There's so many beautiful marbles, and I've seen a million pictures on Instagram and in other people's homes of beautiful, colorful marble. But again, with the investment level, I wanted this to feel classic and timeless. And I wanted this to also feel like this could have been something that was selected for this kitchen back in the 40s. So we went with this, very classic marble. In the detail though, it does pick up some of the green in the veining. But because marble is a little bit more sensitive and high maintenance, we wanted something practical for the island. The island is actually a leathered quartzite, and the leathered, it gives it this really beautiful texture, so you can actually feel the veining here and feel the difference in the stone. But this is super tough. You can, put your plates, dishes on it, pots and pans, anything like that, and you're not gonna hurt it. I also love, again, the punch of black in here. I think this adds a great contrast into the space. This island we modeled after a few islands that we saw in person in magazines and took inspiration from, of this looking like a furniture piece. So I love the idea of this almost feeling like a big cabinet or something that was, again, brought in the 40s to be functional. And we carried in that unlacquered brass hardware all throughout these cabinets here. So because we did paneled appliances, so paneled fridges you lose a few inches, they're not that deep. We actually added in a little mini fridge here because we drink a lot of seltzers. And don't even start to make fun of me, store brand seltzer. I drink a lot of seltzer, and I'm telling you, store brand seltzer is my favorite. So don't come for me for having the store brand. But we added a little mini fridge in here just for additional beverage storage, so we didn't have to take that up with the fridge. But that was a big piece of this kitchen because we did not change the footprint, and this isn't a huge kitchen. We needed it to be hyper functional. So every nook and cranny has been thought out to be as functional and optimized for storage as possible. I want to show you guys a couple of my favorite little details that I think make a huge difference as far as storage. So one thing that's becoming popular now is doing a knife drawer. So rather than having your knife block on the countertop, all my knives can go in here. They just go into this little kind of like foamy material, and they just go straight down. And it also has a little pail in the back for spatulas, and then some surface area below if you want to put olive oil, cutting boards, things like that. But that's a great way to kind of keep those out of the way. Our hood here is actually done in a custom plaster that we then painted over. But I wanted that texture in here, and I think, again, this is part of the kind of mix and style. So the form of this is super sleek, super modern, and contemporary, but it has this old world texture to it that I think feels very true to the house. Now, if you're one of those like Khloe Kardashian cookie jar lovers or an OCD lover, I have a treat for you. So my spice drawer, we use a lot of spices, and I wanted this to be absolutely perfect. So I have this built-in spice drawer here with all of the coordinating spices. And what I love about this is it just is so aesthetically pleasing to look at, but it's also super functional. So on the functionality standpoint, the coffee bar, I think, is a really, really interesting setup. So when we were talking to our builders about this little station, so again, this is all the original footprint. Previously, where this wall was behind, we had 2 chairs and a little like bistro table, which no one ever sat at. It was just like a catch-all. And we had everything in this back corner before, like coffee, wine glasses, everything. So we said, let's move everything over here, get it out of the way. And we noticed too, like when we would have guests over spending the night or anything, everyone would get clumped up in the morning trying to get coffee. So we were like, let's get this as far away as possible and removed and have it be its own little space. But in that thinking, you know, the sink is on the total opposite side of the kitchen. We're big Nespresso fans, so we're always having to fill up this little water pod here. So we thought, you know, why not add, the first thought was like, maybe we should add in a sink. We really didn't have, as you can see, the counter space for a sink. And I saw this, it's again unlacquered brass pot filler online, and I thought this would be such a cool way to like rethink a pot filler rather than having one over your range. So now with this pot filler, you can just bring this over, turn this on, and fill up our little pod here. And I know this is definitely like a first world problem of something that is not necessary, but to me it adds in a beautiful little aspect, and it's something that's just different. One of the biggest structural changes that we made in here was enlarging the size of this window. So previously, I would say the window that was above this, the old sink was here, but the window that was above the sink was probably a third of the size. And again, we're looking out onto all these beautiful trees, and we have this great private view. So I was like, this needs to be as big as possible. So we went as far up and wide as we could for this window just to make this feel totally open. I did these super modern flush mounts up here from Buster and Punch, and what I wanted was whatever we had here to stop right before the face of the window trim so that nothing infiltrated your view to the outside. And of course, we went with a nice big farm sink. I don't know how people live without these. To me, this is just the most functional thing you can do for a sink, whether you're washing pots and pans or just doing normal dishes. You have so much more room than any other style sink. And then we paired it with this really beautiful old world faucet. And I did the faucet in a polished nickel only because I could not find this style of faucet that I wanted with a sprayer in an unlacquered brass. One other detail I wanted to point out in this kitchen. So you'll notice right here in the corner, as well as this corner here. So when we were talking about the finishing of the countertops, you know, sometimes people just leave this blank, sometimes people do a square. I'd seen this beautiful kitchen with all of this custom carved marble, and I thought that could be a really cool element to add into here. Again, this isn't a large kitchen, so we only have 2 end reveals in the entire kitchen. So we decided to carve this out with a double carving and kind of like a scalloped edge on both sides. And I think this adds, I wanted this kitchen to kind of feel, again, true to our house, kind of like an old English cottage or something. And to me, this adds in like a very European old world element in here that I think will be really timeless with this home. You'll notice I'm not like a huge fan of tons of color in here, but I am a huge fan of vintage Turkish rugs. I kind of collect them actually. It's same with like artwork. When I see them, I jump on them. So this one I bought years and years ago from someone that collected vintage rugs themselves and was selling this. And again, it was not planned to go in here. Actually, during the end of the construction process, they had just refinished our floors, and I was like, I need to find a rug in here for everyone walking in and out just to keep, you know, scuff marks and that kind of thing. So I found this in the closet and I rolled it out here and thought, that's perfect, we'll put it here. And then as the rest of the painting came together and all of that, I actually loved the color scheme in here. So I decided to keep it. This is a pretty large opening here, so I do feel like it helps kind of ground the space. And then again, with all of these like, you know, modern fixtures and appliances, I think it brings a little bit of that old world element in here. And then another element that this was actually, even as a designer, this was a huge, huge struggle for me. So this door opens out. So we had very limited space to what we could fit here when it came to counter stools. You know, I looked high and low at every brand that I work with. I just could not find the right thing. I came across these and fell in love with them. I think the wood tone, to me, I love how complementary it is to our floors in here. And again, like our dining chairs, these are actually shockingly comfortable. I sit in these. Sometimes I bring my laptop in here. I'll sit in these for hours at a time. They are very comfortable. And even though they are a more contemporary shape and kind of form, I think that the elements between this distressed leather and the light wood tone, it really makes it feel warm and homey still. And I think it helps balance out this really dramatic island. This used to be just a regular door frame here, and we added in this archway to match the rest of the existing archways. But when we were choosing the paint colors and the wallpaper, I loved how this framed out this little vignette of this new powder bath. So the wall color to this wallpaper in the powder bath were very complementary to each other. And I wanted it to be like a little sneak peek to spark your interest to maybe come in here. So this powder room was just recently renovated. And this actually used to be the entrance to the downstairs bathroom as well as a linen closet. But because this house only had 2 bathrooms, we wanted to utilize the space and create a powder bath. And because this isn't really that large of a space, I had to get a little creative with some of the design choices. So I chose this oak tree mural, which I think is just beautiful. You go in here and it just kind of like takes you into a whole nother world. Like I think the visual aspect of it is just so dramatic. And again, staying true to our area, and the time period, we have big, beautiful oak trees all around. So I love that this kind of pays homage to that. And then in here, I found this marble sink. So this is actually a solid piece of marble that they carve out from remnant marble. And believe it or not, I actually found this on Etsy. It's shipped from Turkey. So I was a little scared when I saw it online that like, you know, maybe this is gonna come and it's gonna be this big or a toy or like who knows what, but I was like, I'm gonna take the risk and go for it. So I got it. We needed, this is only 20 inches wide. So we needed something really small to fit in here with the door opening. And I love how the veining in this marble almost feels like a continuation of the wild branches from the tree. We did a wall-mounted faucet, and then this is actually an antique picture frame that I found with a piece of art in it, and I saved the piece of art, so don't worry about that. But saved the piece of art, took the art out, and replaced it with a mirror. The size again here was really, really tough. I had to look high and low to find a mirror that fit here. And then for the light fixture, this is actually a new piece from Arteriors, but again, I wanted to kind of pay homage to the wild kind of natural feeling in here. So I did this kind of branch-like feature, and I think between the sink and the light fixture, it helps kind of balance out this really, you know, dramatic wallpaper. And I think this adds a little bit of that flair of the modern and contemporary, again, into something that feels very ornate and traditional. The trim in here is Mouse's Back by Farrow and Ball, which is a complementary color to our cabinet. So since you can see this from our kitchen, I wanted everything to kind of flow together. And the ceiling is Slipper Satin by Farrow and Ball, which is the same ceiling color that we have in the kitchen as well. Both very kind of just like warmer, creamy tones, and they pulled from this wallpaper perfectly. But while we were, going through the construction process, I would bring wallpaper samples and paint samples into the kitchen at all different times of day because I wanted to make sure that everything really flowed well together, and that all these colors were working together to make this space feel really cohesive. So right outside of the powder bath in my hallway, I have art everywhere throughout this house. I'm like an art junkie, but so this piece at the top, when I lived in LA, I would go to the West Hollywood flea market. I can't remember what they called it, but there was this guy there. He was very eccentric, very unique, and he drew this woman in all different shapes and sizes. This frame was his framing, everything he chose. And I went up to him and I was like, I love this. Can I please purchase it? Most of these vendors like took credit cards and that type of thing. And he was only taking cash. And I don't remember what it was, $120 or something. And I said, I only have $100. Could I Venmo you? Like, can I do whatever? And he got like super mad at me and was like, forget it. I'm not selling it to you. You can't have her. And he tells me her whole story. He says, her name is Karina. She's been disappointed by men her whole life, and gives me this whole background, this like very eccentric artist, which made me fall in love with the piece even more. Because I think like anytime someone's like a little bit wild, I'm like, I want to buy your art. But so he gives me this whole thing, and then I'm like, I'm gonna go get cash. I'll come back. I bring back $120. And he's like, I'm not gonna sell it to you for $120. He's like, she's very sensitive and she didn't like everything that we just went through, so I don't want to sell it to you anymore. And I was begging him. I'm like, now I have to have it. I'm like, please, I'll give you $300, like whatever it takes. So he was a cool guy. He ended up selling it to me. But I feel like she has such a cool energy. I will never reframe this piece because he chose the frame with her. I think all art has energy, and I think it, like, whenever it has a story like that and someone had such strong emotion connected with it, that's what makes it special. So she has always been in my home, and I think she just is a great conversation piece and very sophisticated. But that brings us into this guest bedroom. So right when you walk in, you'll see this Gucci scarf that I had framed. And this was actually just kind of a fluke. I was on The RealReal one day. They had this on there super cheap. I think it was like $50 or $60 on a sale. And I just loved it. So I thought, you know what, why not buy it, frame it? It's a great little vignette right when you walk in here. But you come into this guest bedroom, and this again is kind of like a continuation of the color palette and aesthetic from the rest of the house. So we have this very kind of proper poster bed frame, but I've mixed it with some mid-century pieces, some modern sculptural pieces. The lamps in here are very sculptural, and then a lot of textures. So we have like hide pillows, velvet pillows, Turkish rugs that have been cut up into pillows. And then of course I love a good heavy drapery panel. Even though we have the plantation shutters in here, I always tell people drapes or curtains to me are kind of like your eyebrows on your face. Like, they help frame everything out. And when you add them in here, it just helps balance the room so much. Again, this room does not get a lot of light, so we did go with a Chantilly lace white wall in here. But I think adding in these heavy drapery panels warms it up, and with all of these tones in here, it still feels really warm and cozy. So these are actually, again, actual mid-century chairs. So these are from the 1950s. My mom and I were out antique shopping one day, and we saw these. The wood stain and the brass caps on the feet are all original. The upholstery was in a little bit of a rough go. So we found some beautiful fabric, had them reupholstered, and now they're back to their original glory. And with these, almost every room in this house, actually all the bedrooms, it's very hard to style because most rooms you're gonna have a window, two windows like on each wall. giving you symmetry, and then you'd put like a cabinet or something in the middle. Almost every room in this house, we have one large window that is centered. So you kind of have to balance out what's on the left and the right side. So here was really easy with 2 chairs, a table here, you know, it feels leveled out and everything. Over here, I kind of had to get a little creative with the bench and this chair. It took a while to find a chair that was the right scale and size for here. So that was a little bit of a design challenge, but I'm one of those people too, with whether it's artwork or accessories, kind of like a more is more sometimes. So I've layered in a ton of different styles of art. I have, you know, French posters, antique oil paintings, a French shield here. Some of my husband paints in his free time. We have some of his abstracts here. And then again, tons of coffee table books that just kind of give it a little bit of warmth and character. So this bedding is all from Nate Home. So Nate Berkus is a huge inspiration to me. And these are some of his pieces from his bedding line that's very affordable. He's actually reposted this bed a couple times on his page. But I love that this linen, again, they're all neutral, but it has interesting texture. And I layered it here with one of my custom lumbar pillows. So I make these for clients, I sell them online, but I love these big oversized lumbar pillows just to make your bed still feel finished. But I can't stand when people have like a million decorative pillows on their bed that all night you're having to move everything off the bed. This way you just really have 1 or 2 on here. It makes a big impact, and it makes bed making just way more simplified. This side table, it actually opens up, which I don't know if I want to show what's in there, but this actually opens up. It has storage. But this again was just, I bought this before we even purchased this house. I found it at an antique store. Again, had no plan for it, no idea where it was going to go. Fell in love with it. The wood detail, the staining, everything is so beautiful. It weighs about 1,000,000 pounds, but we got it in here and it fits perfectly in this space. This I bought once we were in North Carolina, but like I said, our house and my apartments, anywhere, it has always kind of been changing. So you come here once and the next time you visit, it will probably look very different. But I'm always moving stuff around. So even in LA, when I was in a studio apartment, you know, I would change out my dining chair for my desk chair and then move the dining chairs into the living room. Like I'm just always moving stuff around. So when I find a new piece that I fall in love with, I just find a way to make it work and fit it in here somewhere. Off of this guest bedroom, we have this hallway. And one thing I love in here is this built-in bookshelf. So this is actually original to the house as well. This used to be all mirrored, which felt very 80s to me. I did not like it. So I actually just grass cloth this myself. Add a little texture, a little color in here, and then styled these shelves with some of my favorite pieces. But in through this hallway is what I use as kind of a makeshift office / we have another little guest bedroom for when it is needed. And in here, I went with this really cool, it's actually called Trinket Gold is the color of the paint color. And because we have these boarded walls in here, every drapery panel, anything I brought in here was just always feeling kind of like disrupted. So I thought, you know what, why not make these tonal? And I matched this color like as best I could with fabric, which they ended up being almost identical. So I did a totally tonal drapery panel with the wall color here. So this desk is a favorite of mine. It's by Bunny Williams. I love lacquered furniture. I think it's so proper and beautiful. And we layered this in with a great jute rug, which I love. And this is actually an antique bed frame. So this was my great grandfather's bed frame. It was passed down to my parents. This was my childhood bed when I grew up. It sat in storage for years and years, and then when we moved back, my mom asked if we needed it for anywhere, so I used it in here. Again, I did pretty neutral bedding in here, paired it with one of my lumbar pillows in a really dramatic fabric. And then I wanted to add a little bit of an old world element in here, so I have this kind of very traditional piece of art framed and this very proper gold frame that I think just kind of picks up well with the rest of the tones in here. Again, in this space, we kind of have these centered windows, which make balancing everything a little bit of a challenge. But so I chose to do these kind of fun, abstract pieces on either side to help balance it out. And then again, surprise, surprise, lots of coffee table books layered in here just to add a little bit of warmth. But yeah, so I use this room sometimes to meet clients, take phone calls, go through fabric samples. And it's just a nice little cozy room. And then it does double if we do ever have an extra guest that needs to stay here. It's great to have an extra little bed. As a Scorpio, fall and Halloween are my absolute favorite holidays. But I love decorating no matter what the occasion is. So every autumn I come in and I layer lots of pumpkins, mums, and these terracotta jack-o'-lanterns onto our front steps. I love having these nice big bluestone front steps. So we have plenty of room for all of this. We throw a big Halloween party every year. I usually decorate this in September just because I'm getting excited, but I love to just embrace each season, and fall especially. So I like to go all out, add lots of pumpkins. And this year I did a little bit more of a neutral color palette out here, but I was inspired when I saw these at the farmer's market with this color that was very similar almost to our new kitchen cabinets. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna dive into that and go with mainly that color scheme. But yeah, every season I come out here, layer different things in. In the spring, I'll do lots of like hydrangeas and tulips out here. At Christmas, I do garland all wrapped around the house. But this porch we rebuilt it. The original porch, actually, a little bit of a scary fact. So this whole section of this house right here, we realized after we moved in, we were told by a structural engineer that it did not have a proper foundation. So we had to rip the porch off and they had to put in foundational support underneath. But we kept, these are the original rails, iron rails to the house. So I kept these original rails and then we rebuilt this to feel again like something as true to the age of the house as possible. Thinking about what home means to me is a really interesting question because one, our house is constantly changing. I work from home and I have clients here all the time. We are very social. We have friends here all the time. So to me, this house is also kind of like a marketing canvas for me to show the possibilities of what can be done in a home. And I think as designers, it's fun to kind of like experiment with your own home because you can take certain risks that clients maybe would not take. I have so many people that come in here that say, you know, this isn't my style, but it's so you, and I love it and I can appreciate it. And to me, there's no better compliment because your home should reflect who you are. And I always tell clients, it's a lot like getting dressed in the morning. You know, we all have a pair of jeans, we all have a white t-shirt, but it's how we style that and how we accessorize those pieces that make it our own. And that's how I feel in this house. I have accessories and artwork from every time period, every corner of the globe, you know, every color palette, anything you can imagine. To me, it's all about those pieces that speak to me and jump out to me and how I can layer those in to be cohesive in an overall style. And like I said, I'm a very like warm, cozy, you know, fall and winter are my favorite season. I love having the fireplace going. I love having mood lighting, and I always want my house to feel warm and cozy. Here in North Carolina, we have beautiful greenery, evergreens, pine trees, oak trees all around us. So color-wise and design-wise, I like to bring those elements inside and make it feel like this is, you know, an earthy, natural house, but that still feels contemporary and unique.
On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, visiting the lake house of interior designer Lisa Sherry. Lisa loves quiet, neutral hues, organic textiles, aged woods, and natural fibers. Her style mixes modern furniture with vintage pieces, blending new and rustic elements. Lisa designs spaces that enhance the living experience, focusing on every detail to relaxing environments. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Lisa. Welcome to my lake house in North Carolina. I'd love to show you around. My name is Lisa Sherry, and I'm the principal designer and creative director at Lisa Sherry Interiors. We are 30 minutes north of Charlotte, but a million miles away. We're at my lake home. I also have a townhouse in the city, but we're on Lake Norman, just north of the city. I share my lake home with my partner, Jonathan, and between the two of us, we have 6 children that are adults that come and go. We share it with lots of friends. We love to entertain, and it's also great for us just as a respite and a getaway from our busy lives in the city. So my home is a 1990s home, nothing terribly exciting, but through my renovations, I was able to modernize it by taking out the arches, lots of trim work that I removed, just sort of deconstructing and simplifying it to just have a much more modern, simple, classic feel to it. Welcome to my living room. I love this space because I was able to take out walls between the kitchen, a second bedroom, and just opened it all up into one big space. There's amazing natural light. The views of the lake are spectacular. So it's really a big open space for living. This fireplace was a very typical 1990s traditional surround, and I was able to update it by, just boxing it in, creating this modern surround, and then covered it with plaster. I love this little built-in bench seat that I created. It's a wonderful little place to sit and read a book, have a view of the lake, and this nice thick cushion, comfy pillows, just a great little built-in floating bench. I've been doing interior design for probably 20, 30 years. I have an unusual background, which was initially in photo styling, and one thing led to another, and I was able to start doing clients' homes. We primarily do residential design, and our clients are all over the United States. We do large projects from ground up new construction to renovations to some projects where clients just need furniture. So at Lisa Sherry Interiors, we're known for our calm, neutral interiors. Our clients come to us for sort of a lifestyle that we've created. We love to use natural light. We love texture. We're all about mixing modern and organic together. And again, natural light's so important. I love to keep everything light and bright and textural. That being said, we also, mix in grays and browns and colors from nature. We love mixing in the 5 senses. What are you smelling? What candles do you have? What are you cooking? How are you using your space? How do you live? Interior design is our main business, but it's really about creating a beautiful life for our clients. And thus we, love to incorporate so many different elements that are really about creating the beautiful home, which then creates a beautiful life. My own home is also my creative lab. So, the beautiful thing about designing my own spaces is that I get to try things and experiment a little bit with what we might want to do for our clients. But, can we do it? Can we not do it? It's always a great opportunity to try new things with my own spaces. And we're all about slow living. So here at the lake, Jonathan and I are, our day-to-day lives are so busy. So we love coming up here and just kicking back and practicing that slow living on the weekends or whenever we get that opportunity to be able to kick back and just enjoy and relax. Rather than doing a piece of art over this bench, I found this wonderful sculptured light. It's beautiful day to day because it's just such an interesting object day art. But at night, it's just beautiful. The light that it emanates is really warm and really special. Texture is always our color. We tend to do a lot of layers. So this chair is a perfect example of, I have this wonderful vintage rattan chair And then I've layered in the sheepskins, the hemp pillow. So it's really a lot of different layers and a lot of different textures. Since we do a lot of neutrals, we don't want things to feel too unbalanced or feel too stark. So the textures really add all the dimension in the layer. I love this rug. I love texture. I love the little bit of, it's got some dimension to it. Again, all about textures, extra fluffy, extra soft. This room is great summer and winter. You know, the textures really work well. They're very seasonless. So the texture of the rug, I love the gesso quality of this table. It's just got such a nice hand and texture to it. For us, it's all about the edit. So when we're styling, you know, accessories are really important for us. And for myself, obviously, it's you know, things that I collect. Like I found these feathers when I'm out walking at the lake. And, you know, we're always like adding more and then scaling back so that it's simple, it's not too much, it's balanced, it's scale, it's texture. The great thing about this chair is the texture of the fabric. And I love swivel chairs. I feel like swivel chairs allow you to have conversations from one room to another. So like if we're entertaining, you know, and someone's sitting here, they can easily, you know, respond to when I'm cooking and feel engaged. I also love the back of this chair rather than just like having a, you know, a back that could be boring. This one's really beautiful. The lines of it are really special. Well, the great thing about this sofa is that it's perfect for napping, and sofas get a lot of use, especially for us because, you know, we're lounging, you know, watching TV from here. I like this particular sofa because I love just the cotton duck fabric. It's a slip cover, so it's easy to take off and wash. And then I love, even in the summertime, I mean, it's the layered sheepskins are great, just adding that extra texture. These beautiful textured pillows. I love adding just that little hint of brown in it, just adds a little depth to and balances the white of the sofa. I love mixing in all organic objects. So this beautiful wooden ladder and then layering books and magazines on it. The texture of the straw is a nice element that blends well. And then this global tribal basket is such a beautiful piece. So I love to just mix and layer pieces just for interest and, you know, just creating a little moment here. I'm always looking for inspiration. So these are a few of my favorite magazines. You know, I tend to be drawn to European magazines that have, you know, lots of texture and interesting design ideas. So this is a really special piece that I love. It's really my memory wall. We have Polaroid cameras, so whenever someone comes to visit, we do impromptu photos of everyone, and then we just like tape them up to the wall. So it's really fun. Everyone that comes gets to see who's been here, and everyone that comes gets a photograph on the wall. So this whole section was a wall. The kitchen was very small. All of this was a wall going this way. I just wanted to be able to open up the space for more light, for more easy entertaining, so that we could really be engaged with our family and friends that are here. If you're in the living room and Jonathan and I are cooking, we're able to easily all feel like we're part of the same group. It's really wonderful. And then in this section here, which is now the dining room, this was actually a guest bedroom. So I also removed this wall and opened it up to create this beautiful dining room and additional kitchen space. Welcome to my kitchen. I love my kitchen. It's just exactly what I had envisioned, which is just a very simple non-kitchen. I wanted things to disappear. I wanted it to feel, since it's all one room, that these are pieces of furniture. I did this countertop, which is a Caesar stone concrete that's in a honed finish. So it really just is very quiet. I did some textured white cabinetry that, again, just adds a little bit of a texture relief when you see it in the light. I added these beautiful open shelves that are salvaged wood. It's got a really beautiful hand, from a life before, which I love mixing in. And the hood, just a really simple boxed in hood. Everything very sleek and very minimal, but nothing that's too cold. I love my pendants. I made these out of baskets. So they're a really beautiful woven rattan. They've got some nice extra straw hanging down, just like very fun and very textural. Typically, when we do open shelving, we'll do sconces, but I really wanted something just kind of simple and a nod to just like a little sculptural element. So I love these light fixtures that are just the backplate that's in black and with a glass globe. Really nice ambient lighting. One of the ways that I like to help my clients in designing kitchens is to be able to integrate everything. This dishwasher, for example, is panel ready, so you really can't tell. The trash is integrated, and the refrigerator is integrated as well. When I designed the kitchen, I also made a symmetrical pantry on the other side that looks identical to the refrigerator, so it's hard to tell where it is. So by hiding these elements, it just looks like one cohesive grouping of cabinets. From the kitchen is the dining room. And here in the dining room, I really just wanted a big, long table because when we do have a lot of people here, it's great to just be able to all cozy up to the table. I wanted something that was really warm and organic and, again, textural. I love the mixing in the woods with the all-white kitchen, and it's just, sort of that farmhouse style. I love these director chairs. It's just a classic sort of beachy water lake feel with the canvas backs and then layered in pillows just for an additional layer. The other function of this great table is that it's perfect for lots of games and puzzles. We're always playing cards and games with our friends, so it's multifunctional for sure. I added this light fixture. I wanted something that was really sleek. I wanted to, juxtapose all the rough-hewn wood and balance it with something that was, very sleek and clean and modern and white. Styling for a table is always fun. I really love accessories, and I've just mixed in a few different layering pieces here. We've got this nice, warm little riser, wood piece mixed with the clay terracotta. This vase is actually a water pitcher, but it's got this beautiful rattan layered texture on it. And then I'll just go outside and cut branches from the yard. Again, I love to just bring in natural elements, and so you can go to your yard and cut all kinds of things to be able to add an extra layer in. These are some little herbs from my herb garden mixed with this little vintage glass cut tiny vase. And then, of course, always a wonderful candle because we love smells. I love water, and I have to be surrounded by water. I owned a beach house for almost 20 years. And then when I discovered Lake Norman, I thought, gosh, it would be really fun to just have that experience of the lake. So it's been a really fun adventure to see what lake life is about, and having the views of the water every day is just really special. It's also my respite for, when Jonathan and I are looking to get away. Our day-to-day lives are really busy, so we come up here and it's a bit of our awe factor just to be able to be surrounded by water and lots of nature. I had this large wall here, and I thought about putting art. It wasn't very deep. It's only about 9 inches deep, but I also needed storage. So I thought it would be really great to just, again, integrate cabinetry, and it affords me so much storage. So it's a really perfect place for all my dishes and glassware. Not very deep, but it wonderful storage. This pantry mirrors the refrigerator, so I designed it so that they would both look identical and you can't tell which is which, but this is actually a really wonderful pantry, great storage. Again, all integrated in so that you can't really tell what's what. Beautiful texture. When I design kitchens, I always love to integrate a coffee bar. It spreads out your function of your kitchen by having it in a separate area. And typically they're coffee in the morning and then they transition to cocktails and wine at night. So we'll add beverage refrigerators, which are great for having all your milks, waters for drinks, everything you need. Again, more of these beautiful old salvaged wood thick shelves. They've got great character to them. And then I love, just the mix of having the clear glassware as a juxtaposition. And now follow me. I'd love to show you my foyer. Come on. The foyer is the first thing you see when you come in the front door. I have this vintage piece that I found. I fell in love with it because it was just such an unusual find. Sometimes I pick up pieces that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them, but if I love them, I make a home for them. And I thought this could be perfect in the entry. It's got all these great little dividers, almost like a little vintage school locker. So we keep our hats and our golf shoes and sunglasses, and it's just a nice element for organization. It's got a little bit of beautiful patina to it. So I always call it the perfection of imperfection. I don't like anything that's too clean, and I like to balance it and juxtapose. This hat rack is, as you can see, we need lots of hats at the lake. And I'm kind of a collector of hats. I wear them a lot. We've got tons of bags when we go down to our little beach or when we're going out on the boat. It's great to grab a bag, grab your sunscreen and a towel, and just have everything really handy. And I love how it looks in the foyer because it just adds a nice element of what's to come in the house, which is all about all kinds of textures mixed in. I love this light fixture in the foyer. It's a little bit like a wig. It's made of straw. It's wonderful. It's just such a fun, beautiful piece to layer in. I like how dark it is, balancing all the white. And then my Moroccan runner, I'm obsessed with textures, and I love Moroccan rugs. They're always, vintage and one-of-a-kind finds. And then another little mirror. I like to mix in mirrors because I think they're a great reflection to the room, adding a little dimension. When you have art, it becomes two-dimensional, but when you use mirrors, it becomes like moving art. And then this one with the straw texture again, just makes it a little happy and fun. Follow me to our primary suite. The primary bedroom is really the inner sanctum for our clients. We love to create spaces that are quiet and restful and peaceful. And for Jonathan and I, it's extremely important. We have this beautiful view of the lake that, when you're lying in bed, it's a great way to wake up in the morning. I love texture, as you know. So these lamps are vintage rice jars. And they just have such a beautiful hand and crackle finish, and balanced with the beautiful wood. The construction of this nightstand is just a beautiful light elm wood. And I love how it's open, but rather than having things out in the open, I've hidden everything with a basket underneath. My bed is made with a beautiful linen fabric. I love the pleating in the back. It's just a nice little special detail. I like for things to be very quiet and simple, but I'm a detail person, so the stitching on the back of the headboard and the height of the headboard is really wonderful. And then just a small little piece of art at the top just kind of accentuates that. The texture of the pillows, we've got this, beautiful fringe. I like for my beds to be almost a little messy, like not too formal, so that you can jump in them at any point. The thing about this bedroom when I purchased the home is, surprisingly enough, it had just a small window to the outside, and there's this beautiful lake view. So my goal for the space was to really be able to open this up to have this massive view. I wanted all glass. So the doors fold all the way back. And when you're lying in bed, the first thing you see in the morning is the lake. So it's a wonderful way to wake up and see the sunrises. I love collecting, and this is a chair that I found. It's a vintage 1970s peacock chair, and it's just a great little accent piece. So, you know, I like adding in layers of pieces that add interest. I thought that this was just the perfect little surprise to add to the bedroom. Now I'd like to show you this table. It's a beautiful, organic, old oak piece, lots of character. And what I like about it, I've really created sort of an altar table. It's all of my really fun found objects, things that Jonathan and I have collected on trips. We have this piece of art that one of Jonathan's sons gave him for his birthday. And then I have this beautiful string art from a friend of mine who does beautiful art. So it's really a collection. We wake up in the morning and it's just a collection of things that we love that, again, add more texture and add interest and have sentimental value to us. I love that everything has a purpose, even if it's just to make you smile. I love vintage rugs. This one is another Moroccan rug. It's just a beautiful, it's texture. It's got some nice black and white accents. And I love like the little people. It gives a really great global feel, but it still has a great monochromatic look to it. Now I'd love to show you our primary bathroom. Follow me. This is the primary bathroom, and it was originally very 1990s. It had a big garden tub built in here. I just wasn't a fan of having a big soaking tub, so I really just wanted to have the extra space. I put in this beautiful little wooden vintage Asian bench. It's great for just stacking towels, a nice little element under the windows. When I designed this shower, I wanted to do some digital printing on the glass. So we used a piece of fabric that it looks like linen. So the detail of it is really beautiful, creates a little bit of privacy and nice texture for the space. And then my cabinetry, I wanted to have this warm wood feel. So I have this beautiful hand. It's like a white glazed, just warm texture so that the bathroom didn't feel too cold. And then having this huge mirror with the light built in is really nice and clean, and it expands the bathroom just because of how visually strong the mirror is to be able to expand the space. The art is some photos that we've taken on family vacations. Just always great to have art that's meaningful and special and helps me remember great times in my life. Many times in bathrooms, I'll do multiple sconces, but I just wanted to keep this bathroom very streamlined. So I found this linear sconce that's really simple, slightly industrial, but very modern. And I think it's really just the point of perfect lighting and again, nice juxtaposition to the cabinetry and the countertop. Of course, I have a love of Moroccan rugs, but I especially love runners in a bathroom. I feel like it adds that extra layer of warmth. Bathrooms can tend to be cold, and so I like them to feel like your living room or any other room, and adding a runner is a great way to warm up the space. Now let's head to the guest suite. We're in the guest room now. So if you were a guest staying at our lake house, this would be where you would find yourself. I like to create guest bedrooms that are great little getaways for our guest as well. You're coming to the lake and you're you're staying here and spending time with us, but it's also nice to be able to have a little getaway for you to be able to relax and enjoy your time alone. So it's really important to have beautiful soft bedding, great down comforters, lots of layers with textured pillows. And in this case, I have this beautiful rattan bed. I love the texture of it. It has sort of a getaway lake feel to it. And then this piece of art, I call it this room, the Picasso room, because a friend of mine's son designed this. He usually does a lot of color, but he designed this piece of art, especially for me, so that it would be neutral and in black and white. And so this room is named the Picasso room. I have this wonderful throw with the beautiful fringe tassels on it. Again, just adding that extra element of layer. The lamps are beautiful textured concrete. So just juxtaposing with the sleek concrete and steel table that's very simple. I love the mixture of the two. Here we have another peacock chair from the 70s. Just, if someone needs a little place to sit, but just adding these special elements that make you smile is really fun to add in. I love having this layered mirror in here. It just adds this great amount of texture, balancing the texture of the headboard. And mirrors are great for reflections, and just they act as a window so that it's almost as if you are adding more light to your room by having the reflection of the mirror. In lake houses, it's great to have rugs that can withstand a lot of foot traffic. This one I particularly like. I love stripes. I feel like it gives it that great outdoorsy feel, and the colors are perfect in the space, mixing in the little bit of black and the ochre. Our favorite source for rugs is usually vintage. We really love the vintage finds, and we're always shopping, so we're always looking and sourcing for beautiful rugs that we know that are going to mix into a space. And rugs are also a great way to bring your room together. It's all about whether it's drapes for a space. Rugs are a wonderful way to just add that extra layer of interest, and it warms up the space as well. Now I'll take you into the guest bathroom. Follow me. So this is a small guest bathroom, but I wanted it to be super functional. So I did this really beautiful honed concrete countertop, and it's floating so that it's open, which allows for the space to breathe and just feel a little larger and more open. And then I added these great baskets underneath for towels and for toilet paper, great for stacking towels. And then just to do something a little more unique, I added this pendant hanging asymmetrical. So I love the texture of it. And rather than hanging over the mirror, I just wanted it to almost act as a piece of art and to balance the mirror. One of the fun elements that I added in this bathroom was printing digitally on the glass. And this is a really great saying that I love, that I think is sort of a mantra for my life and certainly for the lake house, but it's practice reckless optimism. It's super fun and just a daily reminder. I love the shower. I used large scale 24 by 48 porcelain tiles that look like concrete, and just did minimal grout lines. I just really wanted this shower to feel almost like an outdoor shower and feel like it's all concrete. And then on the floor, I used the same tile but did an octagonal small scale for the floor just to balance it out. Now I'd like to take you to one of my favorite parts of the house, the outside deck. I love this inside-outside living. The great thing about this deck is it's really inside-outside living. We live out here almost 9 months of the year, and it's great to have this wonderful dining table. If it's just the two of us, it's the right size. If we're entertaining, it's perfect. We can add extra chairs in. And we've got these great loungers for just relaxing and reading. And then we have the living room area out here as well. The views of the lake are extraordinary, and the sunshine in the wintertime is so beautiful. For my table, I like to start with flowers or greenery, and it's great to just go out to your yard and cut branches, bringing nature in, just a big glass vase or any kind of vase that you have. Adding, objects that are interesting are always a fun layering. Adding a little, but not too much. It's all about the edit, as I always say. And then I have these really great textured placemats and linen napkins. So, and of course, with a bottle of wine, we're ready to entertain at any moment. I love this seating grouping that I have. It's just so wonderful, again, for napping and relaxing with friends. It's really our outdoor living room. So we're reading out here, sitting back, and just enjoying the lake view. Home to me is so special. It's really the place that I kick back and recharge. And for Jonathan and I, it's just so important, in our day-to-day busy lives to be able to have a place that we're able to kick back, relax. We love to entertain. And it's, I always believe in slow living. So when we're going 100 miles an hour, it's great to be able to just kind of kick back and relax here. Well, Homeworthy, thanks for coming to my lake house. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.